This is KJ and Lyons. KJ Carson and John Lyons right now on WEEI.
Is Mac Jones a lost cause?
No. But I think we have to have realistic expectations now. And like the idea that this guy is going to evolve into a top 10 quarterback, we're so far away from that. Like I think right now you got to like see what you have and can you win for the next year or two with him? You know, you have to make the decision on that fifth-year option. So I don't think he's a lost cause, but I think we have to temper expectations for him and to think that he's going to prove himself to be worthy of having been a first-round pick seems like a far way off right now, long way off now.
Oh, gosh. KJ and Lyons, WEEI, 617-779-7937, text line. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday with us. It's Albert Breer on Early Edition. Yet again, proposing these excuses for Mac Jones. John Lyons, I'm going to let you have your say, and then I'm about to unload a couple of guns. Go.
Well, first of all, KJ, pleasure to be back with you. And the last time we talked a couple weeks ago, the Patriots went out and lost by 35 the next day to the Cowboys, and I thought, geez, can't get much worse than that. And then they lost by 34 to the Saints at home in a shutout the week after. So
look, more days have passed since we've been on than the Patriots have scored in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and actually their offense has given up more points than they've scored, too. So how about that? Look, I actually do, and I know you probably disagree here, KJ, I kind of lean towards what Breer is saying. Like, I think Mac is salvageable to a point, but I don't know if that's going to be here. If he keeps playing like this, he's not going to have a job in New England. And I do think when we look at what's wrong with the Patriots right now, I don't have Mac Jones number one on that list, but I do have him number two. Like, I have the offensive line number one.
There's number two, all right.
I have I have Mac Jones number two. So he's up there for sure. But I do think, like, what we saw in 2021, you can get back to that. I just don't know if it'll happen in New England, and it definitely won't happen, at least I don't think, with what's around him right now.
For those of you who've listened to me on the station over the last couple of years through the raindrops, you've heard me say when you've heard the raindrop that when Mac Jones played against junk players in his rookie season in the preseason, I said, you know what, let Cam Newton be the starter to start the season. Let that engine run out, and after about 6 or 7 games, Mac Jones would be able to see what not to do in an NFL game and how to see bad decisions made in real time. Oh, we want Mac. We want Mac. We want Mac. Oh, there's this narrative. This guy's almost the rookie of the year, and it just took Jamar Chase one game to pass him by because we knew, or some of us knew, that the offensive running game and the defense was carrying Mac Jones. But he's a Pro Bowler as an alternative pick. Oh, you love the gritty he did. It was on a blown dead play. The narrative was already being set that this guy hadn't earned it, but it had been given this mantle to set himself on to be something that he still had not proved that he was. Then last year happens. Oh, Patricia and Judge. It was an easy layup to go after Patricia and Judge. These guys have never called a play or anything. In a few minutes, I'll tell you how Patricia and Judge were more productive last year than they are now this year with Bill O'Brien. But Mac needed a new guy. Bill O'Brien would fix everything. KJ, you're crazy. They need a wide receiver one. KJ, hey, why are you not building the trenches? You can't get anything done if the defense gets through there. I don't care if Jerry Rice and Tim Brown in their heights are standing out on the outside. Nothing's going to happen. No, but he needs a wide receiver one. And so here we are tomorrow getting ready to put that ass in the frying pan at 4:05. Justin, we're about to put him in the frying pan. Mac Jones, been cooked. I've been saying this for the longest. Look back at Alabama. People are like, oh, he won a national championship at Alabama. Reason why Jalen Hurts is so successful? Adversity. Reason why Tua is successful? Adversity. Reason why Mac Jones is failing? Adversity. Never faced it. Didn't go through it in college. Didn't even have to compete against Tua's little brother for the job at Alabama because he left to go to Maryland. And didn't really compete for the job here. You remember, John?
Yep. And look,
Cam Newton was taking all those first-team snaps, and then suddenly, now we think it might be something medical or what have you. We can't get into that. But I've never, look, When have you seen Mac Jones play with the first team for more than 3 series in preseason since his rookie season? I don't think we've ever seen it.
Yeah, and look, I think your point about the adversity is really, I agree 100%. I think it's really underplayed because look at the great quarterbacks in the league right now, and I know you mentioned a couple of them, but like Patrick Mahomes, there was questions in the draft would his style from Texas Tech translate to the NFL. Josh Allen had a rough first couple of years. People wanted to bench him. Tua had a rough first couple of years. People wanted to bench him. Even Joe Burrow had to transfer schools in college because things weren't going well at Ohio State. Like all these guys have overcome some significant challenge in their football lives. And I don't think Mac Jones, look, I think the competition with Cam Newton was something that he did win and he did overcome, but as far as, but at that point, Cam Newton wasn't good anymore.
First team snaps in the preseason games.
But at that
he never took a first team snap.
But he still won the competition. I mean,
how do you win the competition? You don't even play the first team.
They released Cam Newton, and he started the year. You won the competition. But my point is that Cam Newton was washed at that point. Like he wasn't good in 2020. He wasn't really good in training camp in 2021. So like it wasn't like Mac came in and beat out the former MVP Cam Newton.
That's not it at all. I'm saying after 6 games, if you see the Patriots go 3-3 with Cam Newton, you can make the move, and at least Mac Jones has been able to see. Mac Jones has been able to watch.
Mac Jones as a starter. Like I think that my point is that he's never really had huge adversity. I'm agreeing with you.
They made the playoffs with the defense that were starters. That's what that was.
Like he's never really had major adversity until last year with Patricia and Judge. And I think independent of Patricia and Judge, and I thought they did a bad job, and they were put in a bad position by Belichick. I think the underplayed story there is Mac also didn't play well in his own right. I mean, Patricia could call the best plays in the world or the worst plays in the world. It was still Mac who threw 3 interceptions in the second half against Baltimore in Week 3 and cost him a game. Right? It was still Mac who played inconsistently down the stretch. So even with Patricia and Judge, who I put a lot of blame on for last year, independent of that, Mac didn't play well either. And now I think we're now on the other side, if you will, of that adversity, and Mac still is not playing well. Independent, like the offensive line right now, major problem. Receivers, major problem. Independent of that, Mac is still not playing well. Like when you throw across the field twice in 3 plays against Dallas and one of them's a pick 6, that's not on, I have a bad offensive line or I have bad receivers. Like that's 2 terrible decisions. One you got away with and the other one was a pick 6.
KJ and Lyons, 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. I mean, is Mac Jones officially going to be golden crispy?
I feel like, KJ, you've been, forget about the frying pan. You've been crock pot cooking this take for a while, and it seems like it's coming out pretty tasty now.
Well, the thing is,
you've been on it for a while.
I didn't want it because, look, there's this term we have in this industry called David Lee Rothing, which is if a legend leaves a show, you want to put David Lee Roth in there before you get to the next stars. So, like, you had Stern's gone, then you put David Lee Roth in there, and then Opie and Anthony take that show. So you wanted Cam Newton to be the David Lee Roth in that situation. And that still could have occurred, and I think it would have allowed for Mac Jones to be more prosperous in his growth, right? If he saw Cam Newton out there in live action games go 3-3, and you could make that decision, say, look, it's a 500 team, and we still believe that we can get this team to the playoffs. We're going to go to the rookie. You could say, hey, with maybe about 7 or 8 games, this guy would be able to pull it off and would know in front of him what mistakes look like. Who is he looking at for mistakes here but himself in the mirror? Look, last year, after 5 games, the quarterback was sacked 9 times, and they only punted 18 times. This year, sacked 10 times and punted 30 times. So this offensive line that's so horrible has given up 1 more sack after 5 games than they did last year. Last year, 69% completion rate. This year, 60. 2022, 9 for 10 in field goals. Yeah, field goals. This year, 4 of 8. It's better now? That's my point.
Yeah.
When do the excuses stop rolling? That's what Breer just did. Well, we still got to determine. What do you have to determine? Cut that damn fryo on and put it at 4:05 tomorrow. He's cooked.
Yeah, I don't think you're telling the whole story about the offensive line, though. Like the sack numbers, fine. But Mac Jones is under pressure constantly, and they can't run the ball either. Last year, they could not run the ball at all this year. And last year, Stevenson was 1,000-yard back, and they were really good running the football. Like, I think that is a massive difference with the offensive line. And again, look, I have Mac Jones second on my list of what's wrong right now. I just have the offensive line as number 1 because I think they've been worse.
John, everything about last season, the headline was Patricia and Judge are overseeing the offensive operations. And here I am pointing out that it is no worse than it was last year with the offensive line, with the sacks. They've punted almost twice as much this year.
No, I think the offensive line is
here's
worse.
what I was saying.
The offensive line is worse than last year.
What if that Patricia and Judge are gone and you don't get any improvement from the quarterback? Could it possibly be, wait a minute, the quarterback?
Yeah, and I think both things are true. Like, I thought Patricia and Judge did a bad job, but also Mac didn't play well last year, and now Mac Jones, once again, not playing well either. So I think that's a huge piece of accountability and responsibility on Mac. Like, if you don't believe in what's being called or you don't believe in the guys around you, well, you still, independent of that, can perform your job well, or at least to the best possible in the scenario, and he didn't last year, and he's not right now.
617-779-7937. Text line 37937. KJ and Lyons, WEEI. Excuse me, my whole family has gone through a cold situation for like 2 weeks. I know, John, I've seen you jump and flinch a couple times here. Don't worry, it's just Sudafed in my cup. And if I fall asleep on the air, well, it wouldn't be anything different than most people think of my presentation anyway.
I'll be ready to back you up if you
You're absolutely right about the run game. The run game's disappeared. And you would say, okay, well, Matt can't run and throw the ball. And granted, that goes on the offensive line. So something that the offensive line was doing last year isn't happening this year in terms of the run game. But when you're talking about third down conversions, not that big of a difference. 21 of 55 or 381 percentage, 328 this year. Time of possession is about a 5-minute difference. So as bad as the team was with their drives last year, they are even worse holding on to the ball. Now, part of it is because of blowouts, right?
Yeah.
But
they're also all in a lot of third and longs because they can't run the ball on first down or second down. So they're also facing 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, like a lot. And I think that's a huge piece of it. Their red zone percentage actually way better than last year. The problem is, KJ, and you know this well, watch them, they can't get there. They can't even get to the red zone. So far this year, they've had 63 total drives. 24 of them have ended between the 50 and the 20. Some people call it the gold zone. That's 24 out of 63, and only 3 made field goals in that range. So they are constantly stalling instead of even getting to the red zone.
Yeah, it's funny because I mentioned they are 4 for 8 in field goals, and that means they've even missed one inside of that range. Where last year, and even the year before, right, even in his rookie year, there was this feeling of like, okay, all they have to do, because they could move the ball from the 40, call it from the 35 to the 20, and then they would seem to stall out around the 22, right? And then you just had all these field goals kicked by Nick Folk, right? Just field goal, field goal, field goal. Now you feel like you can't even get here. You can't even get, it feels like they can't even get here. And that's the issue. Let's go to John in the car, 617-779-7937, text line 37937. John, thanks for calling KJ and Lyons.
Yeah, I just think your take is off the wall.
What does it take about what? Tell me what part of it is a take that isn't truthful. Why does it have to be a take when it's the truth?
No, it's not the truth. You're grabbing statistics that don't make sense.
Which ones?
Here are the facts.
Which statistic did I grab that was wrong? That the line has given up one more sack this year after 5 games than they did last year?
What does that have to do with?
That has to do with the narrative that the line is so bad and Patricia and Judge are the reason. I'm trying to tell you, McCorkle Jones is the reason. That's why the team seems like a half asleep, like they're not really spunky out there because the leader is seemingly dead.
Okay, I understand that that's your opinion, but let me put some poo-poo on that with some facts. According to, I'm pretty much into the numbers like OPS in baseball and WAR, statistics that really weren't relevant when I was younger, and I do really follow those now. According to Pro Football Focus, whose statistics I believe, the Patriots have the worst offensive line in the NHL. That's not an opinion. That is a statistical fact.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so what was the ranking of their line last year? Right? If the line, middle of the pack. Okay, so if it was in the middle of the pack last year and now it's worse this year, then how can they have similar results? Man, kill your statistician.
They don't really have similar results than last year overall, though. I mean, like last year, they weren't getting shut out either, and they weren't losing, what, 72 to 3 in back-to-back
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, like it's worse.
Give me another one of these good stats you got, John.
Okay, here's the other one. According to Pro Football Focus, the Patriots have the second worst pass catcher receiver rate in the NFL. So basically, Mac has no time to throw the ball to receivers that aren't getting open. With Dan Orlovsky, the ESPN
Okay, John. So let me ask you a question on that last stat. Jacoby Myers is the lone person who is not here from that receiving core last year. That's here this year. That's not here this year. Is that the difference? Jacoby Myers is the difference?
All I can do is present.
Is Jacoby Myers the difference between why they were bad last year and worse this year?
I think that is a pretty sizable difference.
I think that's a big part of it, and I think that Belichick taking Juju over Jacoby Myers was just criminal. They've given this kid absolutely zero chance to succeed. And the last thing I'll say before I go is and I'd like you to even refute this because I know you're going to be smarter than a guy who played pro football in Dan Orlovsky.
So just because I had sex, that doesn't mean I can't do prawn? What do you kill me with that? Continue.
So what Dan Orlovsky said is you could plug and play Joe Montana in this offense, and there wouldn't be much of a difference. He said the reason why is because
Joe Montana wouldn't come here. That's my point. You could now. Here's the thing: you can make the argument if you put Brock Purdy here, how would he do? Brock Purdy wouldn't see the field, right? The whole thing is you could put Mac Jones in San Francisco, and it doesn't necessarily mean they will be that good. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. That's like telling me that Johnny could beat up Steve, and Steve could beat up Bill, but Bill can't beat up Johnny. Man, John, we got to go.
Yeah, look,
you know what the stats are?
I think. Look,
tell me your eyes, John. Tell me your eyes don't tell you when it gets to 3rd and 8 for the Patriots, and you go, "Oh my God."
Yeah, well, but that's part of the point. Is like they can't run the ball and they can't protect up front and they can't pass or run block, so they're in 3rd and 8 all the time. Like that's a huge issue. Like the caller makes the point about the receivers too. Like Mac hasn't got good protection.
Excuses.
In the rare points he does. No one's. But you call it excuses. Like I'm telling you,
who was the leading receiver last year? Who was the leading receiver? Who was the leading receiver for the Patriots last year?
Mac has not played well, but that doesn't mean that the other guys around him haven't been awful either. Like the offensive line has been terrible. Really, the Philly game, I thought they were pretty good. Since then, they've been terrible.
Stevenson was the leading receiver for this team last year.
And they aren't throwing to him either because either he can't get open or he has to stay in for protection or Bill O'Brien isn't calling enough plays to get Stevenson the ball in space. But he's another guy. He has not played well either. He doesn't look like the same running back from a year ago, and it stinks when every time you get a handoff, your offensive line's getting pushed back in front of you. But, I mean, I don't think there's anyone on this offense, KJ, that is playing better than they did a year ago. I can't think of anyone that's playing better than they did. Maybe Trent Brown for a few weeks prior to the Saints game. Other than that, though, I don't think I can think of anyone who's playing better than they did a year ago.
I'll tell you why I think they've progressively gotten worse. That's next here. KJ and Lyons, WEEI. Good Saturday to you. 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. Join the conversation. Time to trend with Justin Turpin.